think everything is good.
Wah!
Hello, everybody. Uno segundo while I make sure that I got everything ready and up and running, panicking. And hello, Brian. And congratulations, Frozen Scarecrow, Rival, and Blue for first, second, and third, respectfully. I need to get this in the right spot. There we go. There we go. I think I got everything set up. You go over there. Hello, everybody. How is everybody doing? How is your weekend going so far? Why is the arm going so high up when it's not supposed to? The scuff is real. We haven't even started. There we go. How far up does the hand go? Reasonable amount. All right. So, off the cuff. I woke up this morning and thought, what's the best thing to do right now when it comes to streams since we don't have any art this week? Well, let's torture myself by trying to teach the 12 principles of animation, which are essentially guidelines created by, I believe, one of the old Disney animators to show how you were supposed to do animation, how to make it appealing, how to make it look good, how to make it look snappy, how to make it look appealing, etc. Real animators use Flash. Well, I'm using Toon Boom, so doing okay. I got some new pillows earlier today. Got Street Fighter XE Plus Alpha in the mail earlier this week. Hell yeah, Brian. Nice. And hello, Blue. How are you doing? So, I kind of put this together in like the last hour and a half. So it's pretty scuff. But we're going to try to get through it together. I quickly tried to scramble some notes together to try and, remember how to do things. And as a disclaimer, I am not a 2D artist. I am not a 2D animator. I am a 3D animator, and not a very good one at that. So, all the stuff you see that I will potentially do in 2D, it's not going to be very good. It's just there specifically for demonstration. That's what it's there for. That's the importance of it. I'm also going to be chugging water a lot because my brain has decided that today is the day that I have a headache. And I'm going to try to combat it with hydration. The wonderful lingerings of a previous migraine. Always a good time. But before we start, how's your guys' weekend been going? Headaches. Yes, Blue. Headaches. Oh, and thank you for the hydrate, by the way, Frozen Scarecrow. But yeah, how's the weekend been treating you guys? I hope that everything has been going well so far. Things have been going relatively smooth. Ugh. Pardon, I'm just going to take my own. I'm going to redeem my own stretch. I hope that those pops didn't come through the microphone. Oh, there we go. Okay. Let me quickly bring up my notes so that I actually have them. Also, full disclaimer, I am not a teacher by any stretch of the imagination. This is just stuff that I learned in school. Some good bone-cracking ASMR. Can only catch it once per day, so it will take a very long time before you can get a full 30-minute bone-cracking video going. You go over here. There we go. Yeah, we'll put you right there. That way it doesn't affect anything. Headaches are the worst when you're at work. I feel that, Brian. I feel that. Especially when you're doing work that's noisy. Where it just feels like, like every noise is just like 3 times louder than it normally is. People who can crack their whole body are missing out on making some ASMR. But they'd have to do it piece by piece, though, Blue. You can't just do what I just did, where you just reach for the sky and just basically everything torso and up just goes in one single, quick, ripple of cracking noises. You'd have to be like shift shoulder slightly, crack. Shift elbow lightly, crack. Shift wrist, crack. You'd have to be like, you'd have to time it. Be so much work just to get that all figured out. Okay. Yeah. You record multiple day cracks and make a compilation easy. Of course, because cracking your body just doesn't just rapidly go through. Sorry, I'm just going over my notes again really quickly just for a reminder. Because all of a sudden, instead of being in a stream, this feels like I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation, even though I didn't make a PowerPoint presentation. But the stage fright is real. No, get out of here, you darn thing. No, I don't want to write with the thingy. Get out of here. Okay. Also, I'm still trying to relearn Toon Boom Harmony's controls, so there might be some moments where I'm going to fumble a little bit because I just can't remember how certain things work. I heard somewhere that cracking joints means you're dehydrated. Interesting. I'm not sure if that's true or not. Ah! Hello, rival. 4B, hello, how's it going? Hello, everybody. How was Liza P? Did you have a good time? I peeked in and out for a couple seconds at a time, but I unfortunately didn't get much of a chance to say anything because I was trying to slapdash this stream together, so that'll be an adventure. It's right, it's hard. I enjoyed it. Glad to hear it. Did you beat the red cloaked fella? What was his name? Like the parade leader or the parade something? Hey, squad leader, how's it going? Beat the boss. I was struggling with, yeah, hell yeah, my dude. Nice. I haven't gotten a chance to play the demo yet, but it looks really cool. I really like the way that I don't know, I really like the art style. The art style definitely was just like, oh, I might have to try this just specifically for the art style. But I guess the introductions are in order just in case. For those who don't know, my name is WillSleepsNot. You may call me Will, you may call me Sleeps, you may call me WillSleepsNot. I am an insomniatic HD dyslexic VTuber who plays a variety of games, and on Saturday, I do art, or in this case, I try to poorly explain how animation works. If that is appealing to you, then by all means, sit back, relax, get comfortable, and enjoy yourself. And if not, thank you very much for stopping by, and I hope that you have a good rest of your day. Ugh. And much like 4B defeating the boss he was struggling with, I now have to somehow defeat my stage fright and see if I could actually try to explain animation to some degree that makes even just a little bit of sense. Now, there are going to be some principles that I'm not going to be able to explain very well visually, just simply because I don't have the drawing talent to actually show it, but we're doing the accelerating ball. I've already done it, rival, but we'll get to that one as soon as we get to that one. But I might as well start with the actual thing. Principle. Oh, wait, it's the 12 principles of animation. Quiet in the class, please. I can't even spell words properly. There you go. Principles of animation. Did it. Speaking of art styles, there are games I've heard of. That are games I've played just because I like the character designs. One of them is the first. Oh, Phantasy Star. Yeah. I ended up really liking. I don't know the character myself, Brian. I never played Phantasy Star, but I know that a lot of people do like that game, partly because of the art style, but I believe the mechanics were also really good. Alright. Boop. Okay, so the first principle of animation, and if I don't have enough space, I'll just move things around accordingly. But the first one, of animation is... Now I just realized why putting my notes there is a terrible idea. We put them over here instead. Boop. Squash and stretch. Rival, or not rival, yeah, Cobalt. Hello, everybody. Cobalt, I can't believe you would do this to me. I thought that you were still going for a while, but hello, Cobalt, and hello, everybody. How goes the art? Oh, we're not doing art today, Cobalt. We're gonna learn about animation together. But hello, Cobalt. How's it going? How was the games? Did you catch many birdos? Isn't animation just big art? I can't say no, but I'm afraid to say yes. I think that's the best way to describe what I want to say. And it with 3 bird Pokemon. Hell yeah, my dude. I'm glad to hear it. It's just art with many layers. It depends on who you ask, Blue, but in certain cases, yes, I would agree with you. Got a couple things I need to take care of, so I had to cut off for streaming time. Ah! Well, in that case, if you need to get going, Cobalt, by all means, do so. Appreciate you still dropping by. Always appreciate a raid. Oh, I need to do the intro thing again. I'm sorry. I'm very all over the place because I'm trying to keep reading my notes to make sure that I'm not goofing. So, hello, everybody. For those who don't know, my name is WillSleepsNot. You may call me Will. You may call me Sleeps. You may call me WillSleepsNot. I'm an insomniac, ADHD, dyslexic VTuber who plays a variety of games. And sometimes, on Saturdays, I do art. If that sounds appealing to you, then by all means, sit back, relax, get comfortable, enjoy yourself. And if not, then thank you very much for stopping by, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day. How can I appreciate this art if I only have milliseconds to look at each drawing? Because that's just how life works. Stretch! You can't do this to me, Cobalt. I'll probably be around, I'll be able to keep them in the background. Might not be able to chat as much. That's totally fine, and I appreciate the hydrate and the stretch. I will do the stretch really quick, and then we will get on to the first principle of animation, squash and stretch. So, we're gonna quickly reach for the skies. And then we'll lean to the right. And then we'll lean to the left. And then we'll lean back. And we'll shake out our wrists, because it's always good to make sure to shake out your wrists, especially when you're doing animation. And now I've lost my pen. Where the heck did I put it? Magically disappeared. Do you guys ever just lose things that you clearly just had a second ago? How did I put it? There you are. Hiding behind my keyboard. Classic. For, like looking for your phone while on your phone. Not exactly. It was, I put it down and it rolled behind / kind of under my keyboard. Alright, so, we start. I guess to start with, I'm sure everybody is mostly aware, but hello Flossie, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. Yeah, we're gonna try and do a bit of an animation lesson if I can help it, if I don't die internally from my own paranoias about teaching people stuff wrong. But for those who don't know, animation is essentially the act of taking either drawings or puppets or pieces of clay or other materials and bringing those things to life to a realistic, how to say it, in a convincing sort of way, rather. It doesn't have to necessarily be realistic. But essentially, animation is just the idea of bringing things to life, essentially. And one of the Disney animators ended up writing the 12 principles of animation, which we're going to look over today. Now, these don't always get used, but a lot of them get used because they are, how to say it, they're borderline required to make an animation look good. So let me really quickly grab another drawing layer here really quick. And B. Or is it Alt B? It is Alt B. Alright. I need to get my glove back on again really quick. So, the first rule of animation is squash and stretch, or principle of animation is squash and stretch. Now, a very simple way to display this is imagine a ball. Ignore this ball for a moment. We'll look at it in a second. But you have a ball. Not a very good ball. Unfortunately, I'm not very good at drawing. But imagine a ball. When a ball moves through the air, depending on its material, you would presume that, it continues to move as a circle. But much like other things, when, let's say, there's a wall here, it doesn't stay a circle when it hits the wall. It will squish down a little bit before it bounces back off again and goes back in the direction that it is. A good way to look at this is kind of like, like the ball example is the biggest one. Like, hold on, I'll show you the little animation I did just before this so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. So this is a very poorly done ball bounce showing squash and stretch. So the thing that we're looking for here specifically, if we go through the pieces, is as you see, as it goes downwards, hey TK, how's it going? Go for the onion skinning. So just to explain onion skinning really quickly, because otherwise, hey Stitches, how's it going? So the way that you look at onion skinning, on a side note, is essentially you're looking at the two images that come after this and two images that come before this. The green is the ones that come afterwards, and red is the ones that comes before. As you can see, the way that we're doing it right now, I move forward one frame. You can see that at the bottom down here. When we move one, the circle that is currently controlled is the one that is black, whereas the one that we just previously had, which was this one, is now red. So just so that you guys know what you're kind of looking at here. So as we're going through, as you see here, we go from a circle, and we kind of start elongating the circle a little bit. It becomes more of an oval, and it becomes more of an oval, and then it makes contact with the ground, and then it squishes. And then it unsquishes as that force. Because essentially what we need to think about here is you have the ball. When it hits the surface, it's going to squish, but it wants to go back up again. And most animation is not where you go here, here, and then here. Like, let's say the ball goes like this. And there's a surface right here. That doesn't feel right. It doesn't look right. It looks awkward. But if you do it as so, you move it down. So it comes down. So when it's coming down, it elongates. And then it hits that surface. It squishes. And then as it goes this way, we're just presuming it goes this way just for explanation-wise, it stays sticking for a little bit, but it starts stretching in that direction. Another really good example of that is imagine a person. Okay? So you have person. Stick figure, because nice and easy to do. There we go. When you are about to jump, what do? You don't just hop, right? You don't just immediately go up. You first stretch yourself downwards, and you bend. You first squish. You squash yourself. And then when you go for that jump, go for this actually, just there. You stretch yourself outwards as you go upwards. That's another example of a squash and stretch, right? You build yourself down, your body weight, or like your mass kind of compiles into a source as you try to build yourself up, and then you push yourself up and you stretch because of it. Hopefully that kind of makes a little bit of sense. A really important thing about squash and stretch is... Ooh, Flossie, stupid question, but still a question. How many circles frames are needed, or it just depends on how smooth you want it to be? Like, is there a base number? Okay, so Flossie, I can explain that. Let me explain this really quickly, and I'll get back to the question, because it actually will flow into something else a little bit later. So, one thing that we need to be aware of is mass. So, let's say we have this sized. We'll go with a square. Bad square, but square nonetheless. And that square hits the ground and it squishes. It's gonna squish. But it needs to squish with the same mass. You know, when a ball is this size and it squishes down onto the floor, this is not the same ball as that. You know what I mean? This has a lot of mass all of a sudden. There's a lot of extra mass here that wasn't supposed to be there before. But this is much more similar because it's the same size. It's just pulled out. Same with the square, right? If you stretch it this way, it's about the same mass as that, right? About the same mass as that, about the same mass as that. But if it was like this, it'd be like, well, this and this, they're not the same square, right? There's way more mass than there was before. And you can see that a little bit in my ball bounce. Let me really quickly hide this. You can see that the sizes change a little bit because unfortunately I'm not the best with consistency and I had to rush it. But you can see that the ball changes size a little bit, right? Especially around here. You see how the ball changes sizes? Big, small, small, big, big. About the same size, kind of changing size a little bit, but you can get away with it slightly. That's a really important thing for squash and stretch. You need to make sure that the volume of the thing that you are squashing and stretching remains the same, because it starts looking very strange when either like a character's face or their whole body or a ball or any other object just suddenly starts gaining weight. It will pull you out of the illusion that is the animation itself. By this standard, if somebody throws a martial arts kick, they squash the leg as they bend the knee and then stretch to actually kick. That's actually a very good way to look at it, Brian. Yeah, when you bring the... Let me grab... Are you just being a bum right now? Oh, it's because you're hidden. Yeah, when you like... How to say? We'll just do a very fast... Yes, 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 yes. You want to do that, but you're not going to do that. Get out of here. How to say? When you bring the knee up, that would be like this specific spot would be quite the squash, right? But then when you go for the big... kick there, you'll bring the arms out a little bit depending on how well you're doing. Bam, that would be like the more stretch, because you're instead of building that mass, because like your muscles would be bulking into themselves, but with like the big front kick, your leg would stretch out. Yes, and you can do a very interesting thing with that as well when in animation, where you're just trying to do, how to say it, where you overextend it a little bit to make it look even more dramatic. And to answer your question now, Flossie, so this goes a little bit into the other principles, but we'll get to it again afterwards. But there's a bunch of different ways Hey, Ling, how's it going? Dramatic poses serve a purpose for a reason. Yes, exactly. I'll touch on it again afterwards, but if you look... Hiccups, sorry. At the bottom here, I don't know if you can see it very well, but this little spot right here says 10, and then 20, and then 30, and then 40. Most animation does a frames per second of 24. So every second, 24 images pass over the screen. So in this case, right here, this would be that right there. That's 24 frames. And to further answer your question, there's a lot of dependence on how you want to approach it, because you can how to say it. So there are a bunch of different terms for this. There's ones, there's twos, and there's threes. Those are like the more common ones. Ones is what I did here. Every single frame, I hope that that's showing. Hold on, I might have to move that up just a little bit just to show it better. Uno secondo. There you are. So as you can see, every single one of those frames has a key on it. Don't worry too much about the lingo, but just every single frame has an image. And that's why it looks the way that it looks, right? Bum. You can also do it on twos. I'm going to see if I can really quickly do this. No promises. I'll hide this for a second. But the way you do twos, we do add, and then wump. Bad drawing. This is probably going to look really, really fast. But we're just going to, for example's sakes. Come on, there we go. Apologies for doing this slowly, just want to make sure that I'm doing this correctly. So in this case, the motion is still there. You still see what's going on, right? But it's on twos now. And what that means is every frame or every pose lasts 2 frames. So it's a little bit, how to say it? It's a little bit snappier. In this particular scenario, it doesn't look as great because you can see a bunch of the popping and stuff going on. And we'll close all this stuff off so that you can see it a little bit better. But it still flows. 2 frame works a little bit better with either super snappy animation or with slower stuff so that it doesn't feel as... sometimes if you do a very slow movement and you do it on ones, it feels very overly smooth, if that makes sense. Because you just see, like, you know, instead of doing... I'll just delete these really quick. If you have a ball rolling across the floor, you know, you can do like... This is the button I want to click. You know, you can have this, and it's like fine, but you could also just do... no, we get rid of that one, and then that one, get rid of that one, do that one, get rid of that one, do that one, get rid of that one, do that one. I don't know if this is going to look very well, but, like, it'll still bring the same information across. It needs to be a little bit more tweaked, but I'm doing very, very quick and snappy and, like, the quick and dirty explanations at the moment. But yeah, so squash and stretch, super important. Helps make, it requires you to make sure that volumes stay correct while you're doing it, but it helps make things feel more alive, and it also helps you figure out what the object is. You know, like, if you're doing a ball drop, again, delete. If you're doing a ball drop, you know, most of the balls are going to start like this. But if it's a rubber ball, it might turn into this during the squish. A bowling ball is going to stay like this because bowling balls don't squish, right? And then, like, a water balloon is going to be like that, for instance. Like, it helps you kind of figure out, or even like a beanbag might probably do this shape as well. It helps figure out physics. It helps your brain figure out what's going on there. In terms of, like, what it is. Because, like, you know, if this is supposed to be, like, a bouncy ball, and it hits the wall, and it just stays this super rough shape, you're just like, oh, it's a very tough material. Whereas if it's bouncing off the wall like this, it's just like, oh, it's a very flexible, like, soft rubber material. And that just kind of gives your brain just, like, this little bit more information about what the object is. Am I reaching scuff levels yet? Because I feel like I am. I'm all over the place. But, so that was squash and stretch. Oops. All right, so the second principle of animation is number 2, anticipation. So, squash and stretch don't necessarily... Hey, how's it going, Triox? We are trying to teach animation, at least the principles of it. Teaching them kids some learning. It's what I'm trying to do. Hey, Solarcy, how's it going? What are we learning today, Professor? We're trying to teach the 12 principles of animation. Solarcy, we'll see how this goes. We just did squash and stretch. We'll see how the rest of it goes. So, a great example of, or a description of anticipation to start with is the jump again, like we were talking about. Nobody just starts... You know what? We'll use Benjamin Toast as an example. Benjamin Toast. You know, we got our little lad here. Very poorly drawn. He doesn't just immediately jump. You know what I mean? It doesn't go from this to this. No one does that. Try it right now. You stand up on the floor and try to jump. Just literally jump. Like, don't prep. Don't wind up. Just jump. It's very slightly possible, but you basically have to push yourself off the balls of your feet, and you're not going to jump very high. We'll do the drawing that we did last time before. So we have man. Here is man. He is lovely man. We appreciate this man. He has a crooked back. Ignore him. Man does not go from standing to jump. Not a good jump, but still. We don't do this. What we first do is we lean down. Put our arms like near our bodies. And then you go up. You go from this. And then you go to the big Yeah. This right here is anticipation. Anticipation is both a requirement when it comes to just physical movement, but it also helps show the audience what is happening. For example, if a character has a pocket, we'll just say, here's their arm. Choop, choop. When you're doing anticipation, you do not go, arm goes down, arm pulls out, I don't know, a stick. Perfect. Classic stick carrying capacity. What you want to do in this regard for the pocket is you have the arm here, then you want to do a big pull out, like pull the arm out, kind of like pull the arm up to show that the arm is going to do something. It draws the eye to this position. And then you stick the arm in all dramatically, and then you pull out the stick or the fork or whatever it might be. Anticipation is a tool that we use for the ta-da effect. Yes. Anticipation is one of the things that we use in order to draw the audience's attention. If you have a scene where there is somebody standing here and somebody standing here, if this person suddenly brings their arm up, as long as this person's not doing anything, we know to look here. This is the thing that we need to pay attention to right now. That is another reason for anticipation. It helps draw your attention to it, and it helps you read what the action is. These are really important things. There was an example of this when it came to an animation thing that I had to do. Was I had a table with a ball on it, and a character had to take that ball. So the character's right over here, so you have the arm. Shoop. They had to grab the ball. This is a little bit unimportant. This is a little bit more, how to say, like, this is more like if you were ever going to actually truly animate, this is important. When that arm grabs the ball, we have our little hand grab the ball, hold it for a minimum of 6 frames. Like 6 frames in the situation of 24 frames per second would be a little bit less than a quarter of a second. The reason for this is you need to let the audience process that moment. And it's still an anticipation situation, right? The character puts their hand on it, so you know where it is now, and now you have built a momentary amount of anticipation for them to start pulling that ball back towards themselves. There needs to, essentially, to go over it for 100th time, anticipation is the method of which you start an action in order to both let the audience focus and let the audience read what's happening. Those are very important things. Hold for 6 no, not 6 seconds, 6 frames. 6 frames, Flossie. Each one of these little things here. Let me hide these. Each one of these little images, we'll hide this. Each one of these is a frame. So you want to hold it for about 6 frames. I unfortunately can't do a great demonstration of that, but, But again, like to look at anticipation again here, this you could classify as a little bit of an anticipation, right? The ball hits, the ball squishes, and then the ball launches. This little part would be the anticipation.
Here comes the boy.
Navek, thank you so much. Why didn't the TTS say anything? But Navek, thank you so much for the resub. I appreciate that. Hello, hello. Hi, how's it going? What have you been up to? How has your weekend been treating you? Also, I need another sip. Because I've got that nervous dry mouth going on right now. I'm tired, but so glad you had a day off. Hell yeah, my dude. Glad to hear it. I hope that you enjoy. We're talking about animation and how it works. Where the heck are my notes? Why have they disappeared on me? There they are. I've just forgotten that we were on the wrong layer. Boop. Delete. There we go. Or are you doing the ball drop? We're doing a whole lot of stuff, Navek. I am all over the place, and hopefully people are learning something. The character does a wall jump in a movie. The anticipation builds as they bend their knee with contact with the wall. Technically, Brian, you're right. I don't disagree with you because there would be multiple anticipations during that situation. But the first anticipation would be them winding up to rush towards the wall itself. I do agree with you, but there's an initial anticipation to it. But in that particular shot that you're referring to, yes, that bend, which would usually be done in like a mild amount of slow-mo. Yes. I learned the ball bounce thing in high school a long time ago. Hell yeah, Navek. So then you are completely aware of this then. This means something to you. All right. It's actually longer than that. Come on, you. There you go. Technically this. That's probably something that you're aware of. But hopefully anticipation makes sense to everyone. Obviously, if you don't have only the animation thing you know, then you know already a lot, Navek. Like, the ball bounce is actually has a lot of animation information within it. Hello, Lonesome. Lonesome. I'm doing it. I'm doing the request. We're learning animation together. How you doing, Lonesome? Hope that the weekend is treating you well. As with most things, the basics are very important. You have no idea. That's why I didn't do a freaking walk cycle for this, because one, I hate walk cycles. But two, because they're advanced and get more complicated, whereas a bouncing ball you can explain quite a bit to somebody with. And yeah, animation. All right. Then in that case, obviously, if you guys have any questions on what we were talking about, like, please, like, let me know what if you have any questions for the topics we've talked about so far. It's the same thing with martial arts. People want to learn all the fancy stuff, but you got to learn the basic movements. It's so much more important. Yeah. You can't, you can't do some kind of a complex kick if you don't. Avatar, hello. Thank you so much for the raid. Hello, everybody. Oh my god, I haven't been doing shoutouts because I always just presume Bells is in my chat. Heck. Hold on. I am very behind. Boom. And then Cobalt 19.
Here comes the boy.
A what?
Avatar Snack Raid. L5 SPIN L5 SPIN L5 SPIN L5 SPIN L5 SPIN L5 SPIN L5 SPIN.
Thank you, Blue. 18 months, my god. But hello, everybody. Hello, Falala. Yeah, Falala's gonna know what I'm talking about. And is gonna mock me for not knowing everything. But thank you, everybody, for stopping by. Thank you so much for the raid. And I'm still missing one more shout out. Bam. Okay. Now I got everybody. I'm embarrassed, but we did it. But hello, everybody. For those of you who have just stopped in, we are talking about the 12 principles of animation. I'm going to try to explain them to the best of my abilities. So far, it's a mess, but hopefully you guys enjoy regardless, and hopefully learn something. Wow. Wow. I love principles. I'm glad to hear that, Avatar. I think Flossie should get a shout out. Fine. Fine. You happy now? I'm happy. Well, I'm glad that you're happy. All right. The next principle is staging. I hope. Let me check one more time with my notes. It is staging. Perfect. So, staging, I don't really need to... staging is one of those more complicated... Not complicated in the sense of that it's difficult, but it just... There's a lot to it. Staging encompasses a lot of different things. Staging essentially is a mixture of character positioning, camera positioning, timing in terms of people's actions, the direction of flow, the location of movement when it comes to cameras and characters. It's a very broad thing. For example, let's presume for a moment that you have a character here who's looking through binoculars. If your camera is set like this, if this is your screen, this is weird. Why is this weird? Because we should be trying to make the audience move with the character. Think like the character. Be part of the character. And also, hello, Trujan. How's it going? Now, there is one reason why this would work. And that is... There's probably other reasons too, but like... Character sneaking up with a knife. Then this particular way the camera has to work, because the audience needs to know this guy exists. This helps build tension. The Richard Williams sleeps not. Hello, liar. Thank you for stopping by. But, how to say, some of the easiest ones, some of the easiest staging things, the psycho theme intensifies, exactly. So, one of the big ones, let's do it like this really quick. So if this is your screen, one of the biggest points that you want to be aware of when it comes to positioning and character location is right here, or right here. This is known as the rule of thirds. For some reason, the human mind really likes it when stuff is here or here. Sometimes here, but this usually creates a feeling, if there's not things around the person, it creates a feeling of loneliness and emptiness. So what you're saying is I'm far too stupid for 3D animation? Oh no, not at all, Lonesome. Anybody can learn this. I didn't know animation whatsoever when I went to school. And I eventually learned. And I've been a lead once. So, anybody can learn animation. How do you not get lost in this process from setting these things up? A mixture of practice and learning this stuff slowly. This is one of those, how to say, you don't need to go to school technically to learn. Absolutely, Falala. A lot of this stuff, by the way, you can literally just Google or YouTube. You will find this. But, I loved your work. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because I'm that old, liar. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Wasn't that like no, that was actually like early. It was like, what, 70s? No, that might even be earlier. When the heck did Who Framed Roger Rabbit come out? Mouse, work with me. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Oh, it is 88. Okay. Still. I would not have been born yet when it came out. Adore that film. It's actually a fantastic movie. And it is a technological marvel. Like, it is genuinely insane that they managed to do that. Will travels time. Oh, is that how it is? All right, we're gonna go back to this. Another important thing. Richard Williams was an absolute. Yes, he was. He was nuts. It's genuinely like, how did you do that? And it's like, oh, it's because it was literally your hobby, your passion, and your job. Have you seen Thief and the Cobbler? I unfortunately have not. We're going to learn to draw and animate through a lot of means. Yeah. Another important one. I animated a ball once. That means that you've done animation before, Avatar. Doesn't matter if it was good or bad. You still did it. Practice is practice. Another important thing when it comes to this is, let's say again, we have this scene. Staging again is timing is part of staging. So if you have, let's say, a character sitting here. You know, doing the thing. And there's another person over here standing. One of the important things is, let's say that this scene requires these two characters to wave at each other. You can have them both wave at the same time, or you can have them both wave, their waves overlapping, but try not to do it at the same time. Let's say that this guy spots that person first. You can do an anticipation where they kind of go like, huh, and then they wave. All right, they do their little wave there. There's wave. And then while they're waving, this person can do their anticipation of like, or their reaction where they go, huh, and then they do their little wave. And they can wave at the same time. But there needs to be a flow to it. There needs to be, like, if you look at it from the perspective of like a spotlight. Let me add one more layer here. Boop. The spotlight starts on this character. That's the character that we need to focus on. But we want to get to this person at some point. So they do their response, they do their anticipation, their gasp, and then they wave. And then we see that this person gasps and waves. So our eye gets drawn over here. If you have both of them wave at the same time, you're going to go cross-eyed because you're like, well, who am I supposed to focus on? One of the people's important, I'm sure. I don't know who, but one of them is. But if he waves first, and then he waves, we can funnel the audience's attention from here to here. And that's part of staging. Staging is one of the most complicated ones, in my opinion. All the other ones are just a matter of learning. Staging is like you need to just make sure that you're guiding the audience properly. Yeah, they don't just animate things. They set up every scene with objects floating and moving around in anticipation, having characters animate all over the movie. Exactly. I saw behind the scenes, and in the scene where the weasels are searching the apartment, the weasels have real guns. They had 2 story sets of the apartment, and they had actors for the weasels with sticks holding guns, or with a stick holding guns. And the animators later went back and drew the... Yeah, exactly. Like, that's has kind of a mixture of, like, rotoscoping and... Ooh, what's the other term? I can't think of the other term off the cuff. I don't mean to highlight that. I meant to throw a pillow. That's all right, Lonesome. Totally fine. I remember hearing about the use of a rubber doll for the scene where Judge Doom tries to pull... Really? Interesting. Yeah, Who Framed Roger Rabbit behind the scenes is insane. Like, the whole movie is a marvel on a technical level. It absolutely is, Liar. That movie is actually, like, you want to see, like advanced, like, insane advancements in their time in terms of tech and methods and animation. Watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Plus, it's a good movie, so that also helps. All right. Does staging kind of make sense to people? I know that one's like really broad, but hopefully it at least makes some sense, even if it's a little bit like, well, I mean, that's a lot of stuff to take in. But for the most part, staging is a mixture of camera placement, character placement, and animation timing. Is kind of the quick summary for it. We see behind the scenes where they talk about the scene where they hit the light to where it's rocking back and forth, and they have the light changing on Roger realistic. Like I said, they do a bunch of nutty stuff in that particular movie. Like, genuinely, it's nuts. All right. If you guys have any questions about previous stuff, let me know. I'm going to move on to the next step, though. The next one is, oh boy, my favorite. All right. The next is 4. Straight ahead versus pose to pose. This is fun to talk about. It's a great movie, don't get me wrong, Liar. But I also want to get this presentation done in, like, not 6 hours. You know what I mean? Hey, Vels, how's it going? I just got here. Can you go over it again? I can go over it again really fast then, Vels. Summary. So far, we have done 3 stages, or 3 principles of animation so far. We have squash and stretch, which is the concept of physics on objects. So, for instance, the thing that I did here. As you can see right here, the ball comes to a point and it squishes because it has physics. And then it stretches outwards. Squash, stretch. Squash and stretch, squash, and then roll. Dang it, Kobold. No, I'm not doing it. But, so that's squash and stretch in a super fast nutshell. Anticipation is the idea that almost every action has something to instigate it. So, like, when you jump, you don't jump, you bend down a little bit, and then you jump. The bending down is the anticipation. Another example is, at least in animation, when you're like reaching into your pocket for something. Oh, what is these hiccups? or these not quite hiccups. When you're reaching into your pocket, you don't just, you know, if your arm's here and you have your pocket, you don't just go into the pocket and then pull out. Again, we'll just go with the stick. What you do is you wind your arm back to draw the attention of the audience that you're about to do something with that arm. And then you go into the pocket to pull it out. And then the third is staging. The staging is super complex, so we're not going to go back into it again. But essentially, staging is a mixture of camera placement, character placement, and the timing between animation. And essentially, staging's whole system is to help guide the audience to where they need to look. That's what staging is in a nutshell. It's complicated. It is very broad, but it's probably one of the most important things. And I'm sorry, what to heck it, a bean? Where's the bean? No, wait, I want to hear this. There you go. Super fast. Now, we're going to get to straight ahead versus pose to pose. Play the ball animation. It's a bean. It's an ever-changing bean. It was not well done. But this animation is actually a perfect example of straight ahead. So, the difference between straight ahead versus pose to pose is how much planning there is behind it. For example, let's say you want to do the ball bounce. And you say, this ball bounce is going to take 20 frames. That is what I am allowing it to be. So let's say, yeah, we'll just do a really fast one here. So let's say you're like, yeah. Okay, so it starts here. And we'll say, you know, it's going to take about 6 seconds. Or 6 frames, rather, to squish down. And then it's going to take 2 seconds. Hold on, I actually need that in order to do this. To straighten up. And then it's going to take, let's say, that many frames. To get up here. And then it's going to take this many frames to get back down here. 1 frame to squish a little bit. And then 2 frames to settle. What I just did, that is pose to pose. Pose to pose is the method where you plan out your animation very thoroughly. You go, all right, what are the major poses that I need to hit? The perfect example for a walk cycle would be, actually, let's see. Like, it's very fast, unfortunately, but it does kind of show off what I mean, you know? It starts at rest, it squishes down, it pops up, it makes it to its top, it holds, it comes down, it squishes, and it settles. Another one is a walk cycle. We'll go over here. When you do a walk cycle, we'll just do this really fast. Shoomp, 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 shoomp. This would be your first pose, right? Heels are on the ground. Don't do that. Stop it. The next pose, major pose at least, would be... Why are you wiggling? Stop that. Would be that. Those are the major steps, right? You do a step. Now, mind you, this is not where the character would be. I'm just separating them so that you can see what I'm talking about. because there's the heel contact for, let's say, the left foot here, and then here's the heel contact for the right foot. This is when the body is in the opposite direction. You're doing it this way because you're like, okay, well, this is where the character needs to be. They need to hit that pose and they need to hit that pose. Timing at this point is kind of included, but you're not putting extra poses in between. You know, you're not doing the foot being down while your other leg is starting. I did not mean to hit that. There we go. Hold on. Sorry, I'm just going to do this really quick. Shoom. Shoom. You know, there's not that step and then the rise, etc. I'm not doing a great service to this, but like you're planning it out really hard. Question: what determines the amount of frames that an animation has? Is it for the style to save time, etc.? Is it for style to save time, etc.? It depends on what you're doing. It depends on the show. Depends on what you're attempting to go for. Depends on the style. Depends on if you're trying to save time. That is lonesome. What you're basically asking is literally questions that need to be asked at the start of the creation of the animation. There are lots of factors that determine the amount of frames you use. Absolutely. Most things these days is 24 frames per second, because that's just kind of the universal approach that we use. 24 frames per second. But I think I mentioned before, but I don't know if you were here. There is a bunch of... Exactly. Liar's just about to hit the point that I was about to say. The Spider-Verse is a great example of different frame rates because they will use different frame rates in their movie depending on the era of the character and the style of the character. Some shows and movies and such look better at lower frame rates. Some look better at higher frame rates. It depends on style. It depends on attempts. Exactly. Liar is nailing it right now. And sometimes you can fake frame rates. And the way that I'm talking about is, as we were talking about the frame rates here just now, right? Like, if it's 24 frames per second, that technically means that there's 24 frames of animation, you know, like 24 of those. But if you want to make it a little bit, as Liar just said, punchier, you can do it that instead of doing it every frame, you take this frame and you hold it for 2. So if you look at it like a timeline, all right? So here's your timeline. This is 0. This is 24. And you have your ball, and it's supposed to go boop, 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 right? So at this point, the ball is right there. And at this point, the ball is going to be there. If this is frame 1, just for simplicity's sakes, and this is frame 2, you can have it that there's a ball here and a ball here for these. Alternatively, you can do it that at 0, here's the ball, and then you hold that for the next frame, and you do it on 2s. So essentially, now it'll be boop, 3. So now these 2 will hold the same image. And what that does is it makes it a little bit snappier. Because instead of going, you know, boop, 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 you're going boop, boop, boop. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. It's so much better to see in terms of visualization. Actually, hold on. I can potentially... If you want to work with me here. Clone. One moment, everybody. I got to do this on the fly a little bit. Boop. 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 Oh, for that, I'm going to have to keep that, actually. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Boop. 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 Sorry, uno segundo while I just figure this out. I'm going to do this. This isn't going to look quite right, but this will be mostly 2s switching into 1s, just to kind of let you see what I'm talking about here. So you see how at the start it's really snappy compared to the other? It's the same. I haven't changed where the ball is going. But it's a pop versus... Whereas here, see, it's done... Okay, get rid of you. Bang, bang, on the ground, bump, bang, bang. But now we're going back into 1, 2, 3. We're going back into frames. I know that doesn't explain it entirely, but essentially you can use 2s. As Liar said, it helps make it snappier because the motion is being held and then it pops into a new pose, so it feels like there's a limited amount of it's crossing more distance in what feels like a shorter amount of time, even though it's still crossing the exact same distance at the same time. You just see it differently. So hold on, I feel like I'm missing a couple different messages here. How does 24 frames per second play with video games playing 60 frames per second? Higher frame rates make things smoother. I think that's pretty much correct what Liar's saying. I don't know the video game industry stuff as much, but like you can have the cutscenes running at 24 frames per second while the game is running at 60 frames per second. Because normally with those cutscenes, they're pre-animated. So they're just like, they're basically, you're just showing a clip. Although sometimes, you know, in video games it is a little bit different too, because you can animate at 60 frames per second. And a lot of the times in those cases, they're usually mocapped as well. So it's not so much animation so much as you're just data transferring onto characters. But sometimes snappier animation makes more sense than one where there's many frames, especially if there's action in the scene. Exactly, Brian. You guys are getting it. You guys know what's up. I don't even need to teach you guys this stuff. You know what's going on. There's a good video of animation in Skullgirls that talks about that, if I recall correctly. Also, holding a frame allows your brain to process the image more, making it stick out more. Spider-Verse does a lot of holding poses to make them pop. Like Will said, you hold the frame for a certain period of time, as opposed to the animation in 1 second. Exactly, there we go. Just cooking and learning the sorcery of animation. Most enlightening Saturday I've had in a while. And like, I need to restate this. I'm going over this very broadly, and I also get that this is stuff that is hard to remember, because it is complicated. I do not expect any of you guys to walk away remembering the majority of this. But if you guys even take away just a little bit from this today, then I'm happy. Because it can... Stuff like this is very fascinating to know when you're watching shows. Like, watch kids shows, for instance. There is so much squash and stretch in a kids show if they had a reasonable enough budget. And you'll see staging, you'll see a lot more. Once you're kind of aware of staging, you kind of have that moment of like, oh, that's how they're making me look to the right side of the screen. Oh, that's why all of a sudden my head just instinctively turns, you know, to the right. Because they did it this way. All right, well, let me get back all the stuffs because I'm all over the place again. Ah, there it is. So, pose to pose is as I showed. Hopefully showed at least, if it's still there. No. That one. Is you take major poses and then you take the extremes. So if you're doing a jump, as I kind of showed before, you would do, in this case, the ball. You would have the ball. You would have its big anticipation down. You would have the extreme stretch. You would have its apex. You would have its contact. You would probably have its stretch or its squash, and then you would have its rest. it would go boop, 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 boop. Now, that works great in most animation. Character animation, object animation, etc. Straight ahead is the opposite. Straight ahead says, all right, well, the ball starts here, and then it should, you know, do this, and then it'll do this, and then it'll do this, and then it'll hold that, and then it'll hold that, and then it will do this, and then it will go like this. You literally go frame by frame by frame. You don't have a plan. You just go. You have a plan, of course. You know that this ball is eventually going to go up and then go back down again. But you don't have, like, you know, here's where it is. This is the max height, and this is where it lands. You don't have that. You are just going. Great examples for this, that you would want to use this. Fire. Because fire is very dynamic. It's very hard to plan out fire. But you can draw fire. You know, you can do the flame. And then you can do the next frame of just like, well, I mean, it's going to go up a little bit, and it's going to do that, and that tongue will move out, and that'll break off, so you'll have the little spurt of flame that goes off, and you'll just go frame by frame by frame by frame by frame doing that. Ah, I want to keep that. No, undo. All right, you have a very strange undo. So fire is really good for that. Water, like having a water droplet come down and hit a pool of water, because water has a tendency to be like, you know, it'll do the ripple effect, and then it'll have that single droplet that pops up. Oops, sorry. I'll have the single droplet that pops up, but also the little droplets that go towards the sides once the water breaks. Really good for that, again, where you just kind of let it go as you're working on it rather than planning it out. You still want to plan it out a little bit, but good. Another one is like ears, like bunny ears. Like for the head, you want to, you know, if you have your head, you want to have it be like, all right, well, it starts here. You know, you have your bunny ear, for instance. And it ends over here. You have your bunny ear. And you know that they show up here at one point. What you would do is these you would ignore. You would animate the head first. Very clever, Cobalt. You'll make a worthy rival yet. Thank you. I'll take the hydrate. So let's say for a second, I might be able to actually do this on screen, on streamer. Actually, I'll do the stretch really quick. And we reach. I could actually use it. Thank you. Stinky, though. Oh, I thought you were going to be like, is Haya here? And back. And we shake out our wrists. But no, I have a deer in headlights look. That's why I'm trying to go slowly, Lonesome, because I get that this is a lot of complicated stuff, and I'm trying to do it slowly, but I'm doing it slowly from an ADHD perspective, so I know that that's a little more difficult. He's not here, so I have to redeem the stinky note. All right, we'll put the stinky note on there. See if I try to teach people stuff and being called stinky while we're doing it. Angry noises. All right, I'll see if I can do this. No promises, but I'm going to try. Hide you for a second. And another drawing layer. Boop. So we have the head. And we'll just do this. Yeah. All right, onion skinning. And then we'll do this. No, that needs to go down just a little bit more. go here. We go there. And then 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 we go there. All right. So here's our super fast. Actually, we'll just do it this way just so that it's a little bit less over the top. So without this, and we'll turn that off as well. So here's our head turn. We turn our head. So it's like, oh, well, that's not bad. You know, there's the head. We'll say that we didn't do that pose. We'll say that we did that pose to pose. Let's say that, you know, we were like, all right, well, the head starts here. Head ends here. That's where the middle is. All right, let's head. Perfect. You know, we planned it out. There was actually thought and logic behind it. I'm just slapdashing it right now so that we can show what I'm trying to go for. And I'm not going to do a great job of this, but it should hopefully... And by the way, this is going to work towards our next principle as well. So keep all this in mind while we're doing it. So first, let's say we just have a little antenna on their head. All right. So now we've done this. So all of a sudden we've started shifting and it's like, oh, that antenna is starting to bend. And we're making a fast movement now. So the antenna is responding accordingly. And now, hold on. Whoop. This is not going to look amazing because I'm not planning it out very well, but... I hope this looks good, because otherwise that's going to suck. See what I'm seeing there? I hope that kind of helps read a little bit what I'm saying there. The head should have been done in pose to pose. We'll presume it did. But now I did the little spring on the top of the head. Like... how to say it, as straight ahead. Because what I'm doing is I'm reading the head movement and going, all right, well, it would make sense that this is how the spring works in response. I need the information of the head movement first so that I can adapt that particular thing in accordance to it. Does that make sense? Do you use Blender for animation? I don't mean to sidetrack. I haven't done it in a little while, Lonesome, but I did a lot of my work in Autodesk software, but I can animate in Blender, yes. Make sense? Perfect. All right. Well, there's a perfect that's the perfect moment to get back here. I think it's this one. Yes, it is. Perfect. We add... Why aren't you working? I hit the thing. Why you no work? There we go. 5. Follow through and overlapping action. So, I'm going to move that a little bit. Follow through and overlapping action is essentially the concept that different things move at different speeds and have different, how to say it, they move at different rates and they move and they stop at different rates. This right here is a perfect example of that. That head is moving at its rate. The spring on top of the head is moving at a different rate But because it's attached to the head itself... Hold on, actually, we'll close in a little bit here. There we go. So that we're nice and close. The head is moving at its own speed. The overlapping action is happening right here. Because the thing is attached to the body, or in this case the head, but it has its own physics. It moves and stops at its own rate. It's like when you grab like a tissue paper out of a tissue box, you know? It's not like this brick that perfectly follows your hand. It flutters behind, and then when you hold it up, it'll wave a little bit. This can be an effect of other body parts. This can be hair. This can be clothing. This can be an object that the character is holding. It can be many, many different things. In this particular case, the reason that I did it this way is so that I could just show the example. In this case, it is our little robot head character with the little antenna on top of his head. That follows along and then bing, 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 bing. The big thing about overlapping action... Let's get that back up again. Actually, I should just... There you go. That makes the most sense. The big thing about it is that it helps show weight or lack thereof. Another really big follow-through and overlap action is your arm. I'm going to see if I can do this justice. But... Oh god, I forgot you guys are on that page. Ah, too many things. Add and close. Your arm, you know, let's say shoulder, elbow, wrist. Chunk. Chunk. Your arm does not move like a stick, you know? It doesn't go whoop, whoop, whoop. Your arm and shoulders move very different, like move as different parts of each other. They move more like a pendulum. Whereas if this part moves forward, you know, we throw our elbow forward. Our wrist, actually we'll add the hand here as well. Our wrist and hand will lag behind. Just like if we swing our arm backwards from the elbow. As this goes this way, this lags behind. Just like how if this gets swung that way, this lags behind. I remember something about something like this in How to Draw Comics, the Marvel way. When you draw an action, you have to emphasize it in some way. Example, when someone runs, their body tilts further forward to emphasize the speed of the motion. Exactly, Brian. Very much so. My arms move like a stick. Some people do actually walk like that, Avatar. I believe that was a Seinfeld episode. My arm sometimes goes... Whoop. I'm trying, Flossie. I use my methods of teaching. That's why I'm not a teacher. Things start at a point of action, and everything else lags behind. That's somewhat because it's still gaining momentum. Very good wording. Very good wording, Liar. Exactly. Not everything, how to say it, everything goes down the line. So, like, you know, if you, let's say this is your hand, put a thumb here, and you're holding a piece of cloth. The reason that the cloth, you know, is doing this when you're pulling it in this direction is because this has momentum. This is not... doesn't have momentum yet. It's being pulled along to catch up with the momentum that is being thrust upon it. You kind of need to imagine momentum flows kind of like a river, you know? The source of the river is here and it flows its way down, moving its, like slowly giving it, I think inertia is the correct word. And it just slowly pulls or quickly pulls, depending on what it is. Pulls the thing to where it needs to go. And then even though this thing has stopped, that momentum, you know, how to say it, is still flowing. So in the case of the cloth, it's going to, you know, eventually go this way before it comes to rest, because it's going to whoop, 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 whoop. Well, thank you, Lyra. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm learning about cloth and trying to use it as an example. So when you're animating a scene with a bunch of stuff, how do you ensure everything has proper physics? Is there an easy way to do it, or do you just go through and animate each thing? It depends on what you mean by things, Lonesome, because if it's a bunch of objects, you can technically do... How to say it? You could technically do simulations on it, but for the most part, if it's like 2 characters and you're animating by hand, you just need to keep stuff in mind, unfortunately. So, like, that's a fun thing with character design. If you don't want to do a lot of hair physics, have a bald character. If you don't want to have a character's clothing flop in the wind, have them wear more form-fitting clothing. But make sure that that makes sense for the character, right? A lumberjack is not going to wear, you know, like hyper loose, floppy clothing besides maybe a big coat. And, like, how to say, like, somebody out in a snowstorm isn't going to be wearing a gymnast's outfit. Unless they are. And it makes sense in that scene. But that's a whole other complicated thing, right? Inertia and momentum are the biggest factors when it comes to things feeling like they have weight, which is the main factor making things feel real. Yeah. People's hair could work the same way. When a character moves forward, it trails behind them. When they suddenly stop, it flows around them to their front. Exactly. Hey, Pavlov, how's it going? Make sure to call me again real soon. Uh-huh. Enjoy yourself, bud. Wink. I would say wait. Wait, what? Oh, I would say wait is the bigger... Sorry, for some reason my brain took the old comment and was just like, what? This is the same thing. No, it's not. Makes things real in art, in general IMO. Even still images, although how you achieve weight can be different from between mediums. Absolutely. I had an idea and then my brain lost it for a second. Give me a moment. Wait. Yeah, I was kind of hoping that would help too. Hey, Spencer, how's it going? Ooh. It's gone, unfortunately. Which is fine. I think it was more just, it was supposed to be an example of some kind, so it's not super important. But yeah, so like Lyra said, like weight, inertia, movement, those are very important for, come on, Will, think! Have like the Jimmy Neutron brainstorm happening where it zooms into my mind and a bunch of lightning bolts are going off. And I'm just like, bleh. Brain blast. There you go. All right. Hopefully that kind of explains follow through and overlap. Again, with the cloth example, you know, like think about like the Batman animated series. You know what I mean? When he like comes crashing down and you've got like the big, you know, like if here's his shoulders, you have the cape kind of doing, you know, this behind him. He's got the big sharp points. And we go down and we go up. But then when he finally sits or like makes his stance, you got to think about the fact that that cloth has to shoot down and eventually drape itself down on the ground before. But it takes a second, right? Like he hits the thud. He stops. His cloth is still going. Even if it's just for half a second, it's still important to be aware of that, because if it's not there, it makes his cloak look like it's made out of titanium. Where it's supposed to be cloth of some kind, even if it's a reinforced, you know, Kevlar or whatever, you know, whatever it happens to be made out of for that particular thing in order for him to be able to take a knife. Like, it's very good at doing that. This is a very good segue into easing. Well, joke's on you, liar, because our next one is ease in and is slow in, slow out. Ease us into the easing. All right, we'll do ease it. We'll do the slow in, slow out. And then we're going to take a quick break because I'm going to need to use the bathroom afterwards and grab some more water. And then we're going to get the other 6 out of the way. So, where is it? There he is. There he is. So, and again, as I say after each one of them, if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. I will try to explain to the best of my abilities. My explanations might be a little bit confusing from time to time because my brain is garbanzo at times, but still. So, number 6 is slow in, slow out. So, also animation is a complicated subject, to be fair. Absolutely. Gotta run to town. Missing ingredients. Absolutely no problem, Lonesome. You have yourself a great day and good luck with getting your extra ingredients / groceries. Safe trip. I hope to see you again. And if not, have yourself a great rest of your night. So, all right, we gotta hide this. I don't remember which one this was on. There it is. So, slow in, slow out, also known as easing or ease in, ease out. All of those terms are roughly the same thing. Most things do not start in motion. When you are giving things motion, there is like a wind up, if you will. A perfect example is when you start a car. All right? You don't start a car. Let me grab a new drawing layer. You don't start a car to get the speedometer going here. Nice big circle. Zoom. Ting, 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 ting. You don't start at 0 and immediately make it to 100. You don't. There's a grace period. There's a point where you start. Thank you, Avatar. Very good contribution. I love Avatar being that individually. You know, like the class is going, and then it's just like, all right, like let's say you have a car, and then start explaining, and someone's like, what if we don't have a car? And it's like, God damn it, just let me cook, chat. So, when you start a vehicle, you don't, if, that's appeal, that's far later, liar. When you start a vehicle, you don't immediately gun to that speed. Some vehicles do the, you know, like we can go from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds or whatever. There is a point. The best way to describe it here is like kind of a timeline again. So let's say this is 0, and we'll just say 60. Every line here is the gaining of speed. This isn't like, I'm not saying this is 1, this is 2. I'm saying that at this point in time, well, actually, this is the best way to describe it. Shunk, shunk. Speed. Time. This is your allotted time. This is not how it works. You don't, over the course of a second, immediately go to the full speed. And it's not really like this either, is it? It's more like this. As you gain momentum, the car builds up its acceleration as it goes. It needs time to push itself up until eventually it reaches that speed. Slow in and slow out is that, in a sense. I wonder if I can actually do this. Ooh, we're gonna give this a try. on-the-fly attempts here for a second. Uno secondo. Motion isn't typically linear. Boom. Liar gets it. Drawing. Add that. All right, so we're going to hide everything else for a second. All right, so we have a ball. And we have another ball. All right. Both of these are going to get 30 frames to move from here. There's the key, and there's the key. They have this amount of frames to move to, let's say, here. Both of them move about the same place, right? Now I just need to set this up really quickly. How do you do that again? That's in here. And now we're going to give it... Oh god, which one is it again? No. It needs to be, let's say, 40. Apply in next. And for this one, we'll do a 40. Apply. All right. So, these two are moving the same distance over the same time. All right? They are leaving at the same time, and they are arriving at the same time. But one is moving at a consistent speed, and one is doing ease in and ease out. The top one specifically, as you can see here, it starts slow. It builds up its momentum. And then once it reaches a certain point, it starts to slow down, and it comes to a stop. This one would be a car. This would be a robot on a conveyor belt moving at a very specific speed. A way that we can look at this is to use... I think I can do it with both. There you go. Here we can see it with onion skinning. All right? You see the difference here. The bottom one... Oh, we should actually put this back to 2. My bad. The bottom one is consistent. Every single distance from one frame to the next is exactly the same. The top one is speeding up and then slowing down. This ties back into the subject of frame rate and frame spacing as well. It does. Even for characters like drawing a sword, the character has to take a second to actually pull the sword from the sheath, the scabbard before striking it, right? And before, you can move your hand there very quickly, but try snapping your hand in place. Like, I'm trying to do it right now. Like, imagine holding onto a scabbard on your side and try grabbing it and not having like a little like moment where you just slow down just a tiny bit. You can feel it. It's very strange, but you can feel it. Because there's a point that your body needs to settle in order to feel confident where it is. It's the same with, like, throwing a baseball. There's a slowness before you throw it. It's the same with... Oh, this is the important thing, though. Things can start in an accelerated position, but they will slow down. Alternatively, things will start at rest, but they will speed up. An example would be no, forgot to click the other button. That's on me. Whoopsie doodle. Brush. All right. So let's say, oh, perfect. If you're doing the ball bounce, let's see if I can do this super fast. I'll even just make it 2 frames just to over-dramatize my point a little bit. Did that look like a ball bouncing? Does that look like a ball falling from the sky and, you know, having any semblance of weight? Or did that look a little bit more like a piece of paper falling that happened to catch the wind? I missed it. Play it again. Yeah, no problem at all. See how I make it slow right the heck down at the end? There's a slow down. There's a slow in, right? We're taking it and we're slowing it down. But it doesn't work because a ball has weight. This feels like a feather falling to the ground, which in some cases obviously might work. In certain situations, you want that ball to be like a feather. It would be very cartoony and silly to have something like that happen, or if it was under the effect of magic or something. But if you're doing that from a realistic perspective, that looks weird as heck. Another example is, let's say you fire a firearm. It would look very strange if that bullet started with a slow in. You know? The idea that it goes like chump, 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 right? Like the bullet's not doing that. The bullet is going. It has immediate force on it, and it immediately launches. It's going too quickly to really show that movement. But the recoil on the firearm will have a slow in or have a slow out, because it will go chunk, chunk, like it'll do the kickback, but then eventually it'll start doing this. It'll start to slow down because you chunk, and then it comes back. Does that make sense? Slow in and slow out is essentially just the concept that motion is not a straight line, as Liar said earlier. It is specifically that it's a, how to say it? It's a, and now my brain just shuts down for a second. Most things start slow, speed up, and then slow down to various things, to various extents. There's no, like, in terms of like timing, it's not like chim 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 chim, right? Like, if this is your timing in terms of your speed, this isn't a consistent. In some places, in some situations, it's going to look like that. In some cases, it's going to look like that. In some cases, it's going to look like that. The importance to note is that things don't come to full stop suddenly for the most part. It's just something to keep in mind. It's the same with, like, talking again about the follow-through stuff, right? Like, there was that... Brain, why are you quitting on me right now? Ah! Not many things can stop on a dime. Exactly. You can think of the lines as frames, and the higher the concentration of frames, the slower the action. Yes, Liar. Unfortunately, I'm really bad at explaining how to actually, like, show that. But, and also my brain is just being a bum right now, and I'm like, yeah, this is how I want to explain it. And then as soon as I start explaining it, it's just like, yeah, we forgot about that. Give me a second to reponder how I want to word that again. Oh. So if you have a pendulum, actually, we'll just have to do a drawing thing for this again. delete all those frames. What? No, delete. So let's say you have a pendulum. The pendulum is not going to go immediately at full blast. Sorry. One moment. I'm trying to do this on the fly. No, that's a little bit... That's a little bit silly. There needs to be a little bit more than that. There we go. All right. And then we'll give everything a 2 just so it's a little bit easier to see. But in this case... Did I actually forget to do a circle at the end? I forgot a circle somewhere. Oh, I didn't. Yeah, there's the one without the circle. Oh, and I accidentally did 2 on the same spot. I'm a fool. All right, give me a second. I gotta fix this for the sake of my pride and my sanity. There. There. Now it should look a little bit better. There. You see how it's... There. You see how it's slowly going into it? Oh, I forgot to grab it off this one. Dang it all to heckity heck. There. See how it's whoomp, 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 and then slows down. Speeds up, slows down. Let me read the stuff really quickly. The ball doesn't know the world exists until it's until it's too late. Exactly, Avatar. It doesn't know. It can't know. Not too many things stopping a dime. I found a tweet the other day that kind of illustrates this. If you have it, Liar, by all means, if you have it on hand, by all means post it in chat. I would love to see it. Yep, and characters that are moving really fast would probably not have that many frames concentrated on one motion or another. Yeah, but teacher, what if the pendulum has a rocket attached to it? Well, that's entirely different, isn't it, Avatar? We're talking about just letting go of it. And a rocket probably animate it with an ease in, aka it starts slower and then accelerates, and then really accelerates. And then you gotta do motion blur and stuff, which I'm not very good at. Alright, let me look at this really quickly. Okay, or don't click on it. My mouse is being very silly right now. Oh, that's actually really good. Yes. It's a little bit difficult to see if you're not sure what you're looking at, but that is a good example, Liar. Alright. Does that make sense to everybody so far? Again, I know we're going in broad strokes for everything, but I'm trying to give examples. They're not always the best examples, but, you know, learning is learning, right? Kinda. Okay, Blue, here's an example, all right? Put your arm out to your side and just make a throwing motion. Like, just keep your arms straight and just do a throw. Like, literally just pretend you have a ball in your hand and you're throwing it like your arm's a catapult arm. And notice how when you first begin, your arm's not moving as fast as when you're in the upper part of your arc. And then once you have kind of like reached the apex of your throw, note how you slow your hand down again. That's an example of the ease in, ease out. Where you start with like, oh, there's another word that I forgot for the slow in, slow out. Drag. Drag is very important for the slow in, slow out because if anybody remembers like basic physics, what drag is is like gravity and wind resistance. It is the stuff that you have to overcome, like natural forces that you have to overcome in order to do things. So in the case of like the arm throw that I just said, you have to put enough power into your arm to be able to push through the wind and through gravity, especially if you're aiming upwards, which takes a second. You have to get that momentum built up first. And then once that's done, then you need to stop the momentum. And that momentum is you having to pull it back. Does that make sense? I hope that explains it a little bit better. I'm trying. I'm sorry. This was a spur-of-the-moment idea. So it doesn't make sense. All right, we'll try again. No. We're keeping everybody on the same page here. I'm not giving up on this. I'm just trying to think of a different way of approaching it. How to figure that one out. Oh, okay. Have you ever started jogging or running specifically, like a 100-meter sprint, and that first like second of where you're pushing off, it feels like you're kind of like pushing against a wall that's facing you, and you feel like you're very slow at the start. Then once you get going, it starts being a lot easier to keep that run motion engaged. And then you hit the 100-meter mark, and now suddenly you got to kind of dig your heels into the ground to slow yourself down. That beginning is the slow in. That's when you need to push yourself through those resistances, like the wind, like gravity, whatever it might be, to get yourself forward. You kind of think of it like, again, we go back to this. Time. And we'll say speed. So when you start at rest, you're at rest. You're trying to get to this speed. It's not going like this. You're doing this. To get to it. And then when you need to slow down, you kind of have to push yourself. How to say it? It's not a super fast slowdown, right? You start slowing down. You force yourself to start slowing down. And you start slowing down rapidly, but then you need to catch yourself, because if you don't do that, you're going to fall forward. Swimming comes to mind. Starting out slow. That's actually a really good one as well, Flossie. You have to push through, how to say it, the resistance of the water. So when you first start, there's like, you know, when you swim, you can actually feel the water resisting you. And that's actually a pretty decent example from the perspective. Now, mind you, like, slow in and slow out happens everywhere. Like, the pendulum I'm doing specifically because of walking. Like, if you ever watch yourself walk or feel your arms when you walk, it isn't like chunk, chunk, chunk. You know, you go ba-dump, and then you go ba-dump, and then you go ba-dump. You have these little extra movements that are like, I know what I need to do. One moment. It's going to take me a second to set this up. Talk amongst yourselves. Class is in recess. Well, I really quickly try to set this up. Let's hope this works. Dum, dum, dum. Go there. And then we go here. All right. I don't know if this is going to work because this might frick things up a little bit. Are we going to work? No? I might have to turn off this thing. And if we do, that's just how it is. Are you going to pick me up? Hmm? Are we going to work? No? Oh, boy. Oh, dear. All right. Give me a second. I got to There we go. Put the stinky note back on. Don't worry. I didn't forget. Our little artist toast. Okay. Hands? Perfect. Okay. So. See that movement right there? See this? I hope it's working. Oh, it's not liking it very much. All right, we're going to try. Without the glove on. I think the glove is fucking it up. So, we have hand, right? Stop losing me. Come on now. See the movements here. I'm not going breh. I'm not going breh. I'm going oot. So you start slow, speed up, and then slow down again. Slow, speed, slow. I need to do it this way because I don't have a lot of range because of the way that my leap works. But like when you're swinging your arms, you're not going, come on, keep focus on this. You always work so well until you don't want to work. Meh. But like, see how there's still like a slow in my hand? There's a, if I'm doing a twist like this, I'm not going, you know, I'm not doing a, like this weird, I have to like tense my hand to try and make sure that I keep this motion at exactly the same. When I'm doing the motion, slow, fast, slow. Slow, fast, slow. Does that make a little bit more sense? Come on. Why is my equipment not working with me right now? The problem is the line part. Oh, the thing that we were drawing earlier? Like the sticky thing? The line that just had like 2 lines and then a bunch of little lines in between? Oh, do not worry about that blue. It is irrelevant to this. There's a lot of things, but... Oh my god, we can't see. I'm so mad right now. I'm so mad that I wasn't looking. I'm so stupid. Oh, God. Throw me in a river and keep me under. Hands. Okay. The way to describe this. Here's the best way that I can describe it. I'm going to try to do this properly, okay? So I'm going to do this while I'm drawing the lines to show you what I mean. So, what this is, blue, right here. This thing right here is a timeline. Okay? Does that make sense? So let's say this is 0 and this is 40. Arbitrary number. Does that make sense right now? Okay. Every stick that is in there is a frame. And the way you want to think of that is, in this case of my hand, from here to here is, let's say that, all right? Just this little movement. And what's important for this is that now if we were to throw, it would take time for him to game over. The way the line works, okay? So we're going to go with this motion. Don't you start with me, leap motion control. It's this motion. Fuck off! Fine. This motion, then. This motion. Oh, you are being such a little fuck right now. Sorry. I'm going to try to make this work regardless. So, this line... Actually, I don't even need the... Hold on, we're going to just get rid of these. Hand back up. This is the timeline, okay? What these lines represent are frames. Because the motion between, if this is 0, and here, like let's just say this movement right here, okay? That's going to be about this. Because what's happening there is, hello, Pandemonium, how's it going? How are you? Also, congratulations on your new personal best and technically the world record of Yakuza Dead Souls. Is my thumb... Give me the thumbs up. I want to give a thumbs up. It's not letting me thumbs up, Panda. I'm sorry. I'm trying to thumbs up. There we go. Close enough. But, so, how to say? So this movement blue, I'm trying to do it so that there's a speed. This like this is like this kind of sorta. So you have the ball, and the ball has to come over here, and that's the timeline. This right here is like this. It's the amount of frames that you need to draw in order to show that motion. So when I do this, oh, for fuck's sakes, you goddamn absolute, oh, when the frickin' material doesn't want to work. When you want to do that, yeah, it doesn't help that my my leap motion control is trying to be an asshole. Essentially what it is, it's trying to show what... Can you select the ball and click it and drag the mouse to illustrate? That's probably what I'm going to have to do because this thing is not wanting to read. 1 second, I'm going to put it away. It's on the timeout now. It's on timeout. By a leap motion control, they say. It'll be great, they say. Oh, bouncing ball, yeehaw. Oh, yeah. Pandemonium, you know what's up. You know what's up. And also, I think I know how we're going to show this. I figured out an idea. All right. Everybody, we're going to try this again. Leap motion control. Stop looking for it. Thank you. So we're just going to do a couple of lines. All right. So this is what the confusion is, right, Blue? You don't get how this... where's my mouse? You don't understand how this works. This doesn't make sense to you. Okay. Here's how we're going to do it. Oh, God, and I did it on that layer. Okay. I'm going to have to do a couple things to make it that this works. Copy. Over here, we make 2 new drawings. We put you up here. And we put you to there. Actually, no. This is basically that. All right. So the way this works is, here's the ball at rest. Oh, I'm hitting the wrong button. No, give me the onion skinning. Here's the ball. Then here's the ball. Oh, God, I'm shrinking them. Gosh dang it. Wait a moment. Here's the ball. 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 No, we don't shrink. We're still shrinking it. Come on. Will, stop being a dummy. Here's the ball. Here's the ball. And here's the ball. Oh, God. All that other stuff is also playing, eh? Where's that stuff? Where's that all hidden? It's in there. it shows motion. It shows how it shows the spacing and the speed of the frames, because the distance between those frame points, these points, show how far the object has traveled and therefore its speed. Because right now, what's happening to it? We'll actually add 2s so that it's a little bit easier to see. Do you see its speed? Do you see how it's speeding up and slowing down? It starts slow, starts to speed up, starts speeding up a lot, and then it starts to slow down again. That's what those lines represent. They represent how many frames are happening over the course of the timeline when it comes to the perspective of distance, or in terms of speed itself. Does that make sense? It's not incredibly easy to read, but it is possible to... Yes, no, I get it. Perfect! There we go! I answered a question! Yay! That tweet makes so much more sense. There we go, Blue! We did it! I got to go to sleep, but thank you so much for the lesson. No problem at all, Flossie. You have yourself a great sleep tonight. Thank you so much for lurking, and I hope that you have a great rest of your weekend. And actually, with that, we're going to take a quick break because, dear Lord, do I need to use the bathroom right now. We have 6 more to go. Most of them are going to be pretty quick, and a couple of them I can't really get into too much because of just not being able to do it in the allotted time. There'll be quick explanations, essentially. So, everybody, let me really quickly actually just make sure that I'm on the right place. Okay, that's easy, that's easy, that's easy, that's easy, that's easy. Okay, yeah, this next part we're probably going to get done within the hour, probably, unless people have questions. So, we're going to take a quick 5 to 10 minute break. If you guys can and are able to, I hope that you get up and stretch. Grab yourself something to eat, grab yourself something to drink. Make sure that you guys are taking care of yourselves. I will be back in a few moments, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye, Solarcy. I hope you have a good rest of your night. I'm late, aren't I? That happened a while ago already, didn't it? Thank you, Blue. I wouldn't call myself a professor, but I'm trying. Oh, I know why the thing was having such a funky time. I know I was having a goof of a time. Can't see Will the ads are still playing. My bad, Liar. My bad. Somebody tell Liar that I'll wait. Heck. I can wait, though. That's fine. Ooh, also, I've been doing a heck ton of talking this week, and I feel like I'm going to lose my voice tomorrow. Welcome back, Liar. You're good, but thank you for the assumption. Also, yeah, I came back on without thinking about it, and then I was like, oh, wait. And then you mention it, and then I check the timer, and I'm like, ah, crap. I came in way too early. Duck Will. No. But also, maybe. Who knows? All right. We hide these. And next on the list is... How many layers do I have? Oh, God. There it is. Next on WillSleepsNot. Dang right I don't. I would never do such a shameful thing. All right. Number 7 is... And we've basically talked about this already, but we're going to talk about it some more. I'm upset that that one thing is wrong, and I'm going to have to fix that soon. Arcs. Number 15. Is that what you were going for, Liar? Took a bit longer. What'd you miss? We literally just started, Brian. So you are good. We literally just started. I just wrote the word. Arc. Arcs are very, very important in animation. So, let me actually we'll raise this just a little bit so that I have access to this a little bit more. Where was the one thing? Oh, this. So as you see, with the ball bounce, it isn't just... What is this specifically? What do I have here? I don't think there's anything even there. Well, then we draw on it. When you're drawing... Wait, I can't draw on it? Wait, no, I'm not hiding it. Oh, I was hiding it. I'm a fool. So, the ball is not doing this. The ball is doing this. Right? Balls move in an arc. Just like an arm does. Your arms, when your arm is moving in different positions, you're moving in arcs. That's kind of a bad one, but you see what I'm saying. You don't go, how to say it, your arm, just like with your hand movement. Like, try your hand movement right now. Just move your hand around. Note that you're not going like when you have your hand, you know, hand and little thumb, you're not going, you're going, or wah. There's like a little bit of an arc to it. Shift from one ball of your foot, or shift from one of your feet to the other, and feel where your hip is. You don't just go, like if this is your hip, you don't just go from this angle to this angle. There's no just like whoop. It's usually it's a dip. But sometimes it's also upwards. Natural bodies move in arcs. Perfect example. Try to do a haymaker right now to stick to the combat stuff. Like, try throwing a haymaker, which is basically one of those like big, like wide punches that you kind of start behind you and almost like keep your arms straight and just swing around. That hand is not moving straight. That arm is moving in an arc. Like a hook punch? I'm thinking about those really big ones, Brian. You know those telegraphed ones that are like, where they like literally like pull their arm back like they're about to do a baseball throw, but instead they just swing the hand? Like just basically keep the arm straight and just swing it in a big arc. Like, I'm not sure if that's what a hook is. I don't think it is. Like, a hook is a little bit more of like, has like a front with like a curve to it. I'm talking about like, wah! When you said haymaker, I mixed it up with suplex. Suplexagon. I mean, suplex has a lot of arcs to it too, though, right, Liar? You know, when you're bending back, it's not a straight line. It is very much, you know, when you have person... You know, and person doing the how to say, the hold, it's not like a straight line. That is an arc that is happening. Hey, better batter, hey, better batter, swing. Exactly. Like, there are certain things that we do deliberately that are straight. Like a punch forward is a straight line. Absolutely. But a lot of the times when you swing, there's other arch movements happening. When your shoulders are rotating into that punch, your shoulders are moving in an arch. They're not just going from... It's not... Like, if these are your shoulders, if we're looking from an eagle eye perspective, and you're turning like this, you know, and then this is the punch specifically, you're not moving from A to B in a straight line. There's a curve to it. Roundhouse kick as an example. Yeah, trying to stick to the combat stuff because it seems like you guys are learning that, so using that stuff better when it comes to learning. Like, you just need to be aware of arcs. Arcs are important. We work in arcs. We move in arc. Natural things work in arc. And the reason behind that is because it's like a pivot point. Do you guys... I don't know if you guys did this in like high school or grade school, but like using... what was that thing called again? Let me Google the name really quick. 1 second. Yeah, do you guys remember protractors? Especially these ones. The ones where you had a pin, and it had this little point at the end. And then there was a joint here, the little point that you could grab onto, and then this side had a pencil attached to it. If you remember this thing at all, what you would do is you would put this point down onto a specific area, and if we look at it from like an above view, it would look like this, and then you had the little pen right there. And this point would stay, but you would draw a circle using it, because this was your pivot point. This is a really good example about how the human body moves, about how a lot of things move. Example, in this case, your shoulder is your pivot point for your elbow, right? So therefore, if you swing your arm forward, it doesn't go this way. It uses this as a pivot point. So it rotates around this point. And then if you go down even further, right, you have your shoulder, you have your elbow, and then you have your wrist. If you move your wrist forward, it's not going straight line. It's curving over there in the shape of this point. I'm pretty sure that I've hammered the point home, but I just want to make sure that everybody understands what I'm saying. It's a simple point, but it's very important to make sure when you're doing stuff like this, because when you are animating living things, not knowing this is going to be the difference between it feeling natural and it feeling incredibly mechanical. And borderline potentially breaking limbs sometimes. Unless there are any objections, I'm going to presume that everybody, for the most part, understands what I'm talking about here. All right. I'm going to move on to the next point. Well, what program am I using? At the moment, I'm using Toon Boom Harmony, Luna. And hello, Luna, how are you? So I'm going to take a quick sip of water, so if you guys also have some water, by all means, join me. Well, how are you? I'm doing all right. I'm trying to teach people animation. It's a process. I'm going to be honest, my brain is slow at the moment. I'm a bit tired. Liar, there's no way in heck that you don't know about arcs. I can guarantee that you know. And if you don't, I'm always willing to take questions at a different time. Always wanted to know about animation, but felt super, but it feels super tedious. It can be, depending on the system that you're using. Like, 2D is not my strong suit. Like, I don't really do 2D animation, but like traditional 2D can be very time consuming. Absolutely. How to say it? Like, puppeteering style 2D can be time consuming, but it's less time consuming if you know what you're doing. And then 3D, assuming that you actually have a character to work with, is not horrific, but it can also be tedious. Also, animation programs to test and see if you like it are super expensive. You are not wrong. I'm sure I know the principles, but I don't remember the term. But either way, it's not worth waiting for me at the moment. Oh no, liar, I'm sorry. I will keep going, but you'll be in my thoughts and in my prayers. Hold on, I'm going to move this up here so that I don't lose it again. I'm going to hide that. I'm going to go here, and we're going to move on to the next thing. Don't worry, liar. I have liar brain. All right. 8 is timing. And we don't even have to worry about that one too much anymore because we basically went over it earlier. So timing is essentially, to break it down in the easiest way possible, speed is represented by movements in frames. What was this one? I don't remember what anything is. Boom! There you go. This right here? Nope. Ah! Oh dear. I'm doing bad things. Uno segundo. Redo. Redo. This right here? That's speed. Another way to look at it is if you're drawing a character or like an object at this speed, presume that each one of these is a different frame, versus this speed, and presume that this is a different frame, you can see this is moving slowly and this is moving quickly. Just simply due to the fact that of the distance traveled over this period of time, if that makes sense. Questions, comments, concerns? Timing overlaps with a lot of the things we discussed. Absolutely, Brian. That's why when I saw it on the list and was kind of like, oh, I don't have to worry about that one too much. So, if there's no other questions about it, we're going to move on to the next thing. And again, if you do have questions, ask. I am more than happy to go over things should we need to do so. I'm going to move you up just a little bit more. All right. 9. Exaggeration. Exaggeration is pretty self-explanatory, and this is more connected to style, so this is not something that I can really draw for you for the most part. But exaggeration is essentially the idea of pushing drawings. Wait, I'm missing one. Oh my god, I missed one. Oh, I am not a teacher. One moment. We'll do the exaggeration and then I'll get it figured out afterwards. We'll do the exaggeration first and then we'll figure it out. I'm sorry. This other one, the one that I missed, is actually very important. So exaggeration is push things. Push poses, push expressions. Like, you know, you can have a sad character, but you can also have a sad character, you know? Sad, pushed, exaggerated. Happy, exaggerated. Very simple versions of it, but the same with, like, poses. Like, you know. Let's see if I can do this really quick. Pose versus, like, ooh, how would I do this? Oh, never mind. That's the problem. I have the arms in the wrong direction. Pose. Exaggerated. Like, you want to... There are certain times where you have a pose and you're like, this is pretty good. And then you just push it a little bit more and it'll just look better. There are obviously exceptions to that rule. There are certain poses that are just go too far. Like, if I keep pushing this pose, you know, there's a point where you get to this and it's like, well, this isn't realistic anymore. You know, that you can't, this doesn't do anything anymore. But you're still pushing it. Pushing it's what you're trying to do. That you exaggerate the pose. One example is if you want to emphasize a punch, you can exaggerate it by making the fist larger during some of the impact to emphasize it. Yep. Exaggeration goes to what I was saying earlier when in characters leaning into their emotions. If they're smacking someone, adding more tilt to their arm. Yep. What Brian is saying is correct. Also, you can do the difference between like a character, you know, going for like the punch versus like I'm gonna try to do this where like, what? I didn't do that. No, go back. Ugh. Sorry, there are some button sequences I don't fully understand yet. You know, versus like where they're like really throwing that punch. I'm also occasionally trying to use the controls for Clip Studio Paint and they don't work. Ingredients purchased, food consumed. How goes animation lesson? Hopefully well. Lonesome. I forgot a number because I'm bad. But yes, this one's pretty self-explanatory. You generally can get away with a lot without people realizing you're actually breaking reality, as long as you're doing it with a little bit of subtlety and you're doing it in quick motion animation. Definitely helps. Kind of similar to how people utilize smear frames. Oh, smear frames are very fun if you know how to do them. It's something you can do that edits how the action and image is read. Yeah, if you're going for a swing, if you're going for the, hold on, no, never mind. We're gonna do sha, and you have a staff, for instance, and they were going for a swing. If you do this, Doesn't look great in this particular situation, but it will add to the motion. It gives you just a little bit more movement to it. Alright. Hopefully that, for the most part, makes sense. I'm going to step on to the next thing. And by that, I mean the previous thing. Because we missed one, as I said. This is supposed to be 10. This is supposed to be 9. And 8 is secondary action, which is kind of related to what we were just talking about, so this isn't the worst thing ever. So, secondary action are actions that are used to support the main action. So if the action is... Let's say the action is opening a window. Okay? That's the action. The secondary action is there to help support it and to enhance emotion and personality of the character. So if an example of this is like, all right, do a classic just open a window movement. All right? No personality, just whoop, you pull the window open. Now we change it where the character is a little bit like slouched and looks around a little bit first and then pulls open the window, implying sinister intent. Or have the character do like a and then pull open the window, implying that they're really hot and need some air. Another example would be like if you wave to someone, like just a regular wave, you know, no expression, it's just a wave. But if you do a fast wave and a smile, you know, to show that they're excited to see the person, versus if they're kind of frowning and it's a slow wave and there's like a, you know, the eyes are slowly following the person as they wave, implying that there is aggression or disapproval there. It's worth seeing through animations frame by frame to look at how they do things on YouTube. You press, oh man, liar, you don't know how many times I do that. I'm like, no, hold on, let me see that again. Secondary action, is that like a facial expression to emphasize that they're straining while lifting something? That is absolutely a secondary action. The act is the lifting of the weight. The expression is showing off the emotion or the personality. Those are two of the big ones when it comes to that stuff. So if they are, you know, like while they're lifting a weight, you can see that it's a very heavy weight and they're struggling against it. Where if they're just like, you know, they could be a situation where they're lifting weights, but they're actually paying attention to like the cute person that's, you know, on the other area, like in another area of the gym, you know, like they're not even paying attention to the weight. It doesn't matter to them. They're actually focused on something completely different. It helps build what they're doing, who they are, and what they're feeling. That is what secondary action is. I think that's actually pretty contained from what I can see. So we're going to move on to number 11, because that was supposed to be number 8, and I goofed. I'm so sorry. We're actually almost done. The last two are actually going to be fairly quick. So, 11 is solid drawing. Maybe if I could spell properly, that would help. Solid drawing. So, I cannot draw any examples for this because I am not a good artist. But solid drawing is essentially the idea that you learn. Number 11, solid drawing, is essentially the idea that you try to learn to draw characters in 3D space. The idea behind it is that you become familiar with the capabilities of drawing characters in 3D space so that you are aware of size changes based on distance from camera, the ability to be able to draw them in different positions based on movement. It's essentially solid drawing is just being having the skill to be able to draw in a 3D environment. That's essentially all it is. So it's about perspective. It's not fully about perspective, but perspective is a big part of it, Brian. It is also just the ability, how to say it? It's also the ability to draw characters using shapes to start with so that you can, how to say it? It's also a little bit about design. In a way, kind of. But the next point is more about that. This is more about just its ability to draw in 3D space. It's very important to be able to draw characters if they are a real 3D object. If you can imagine and draw an object as it is in 3D space, you have to use a huge advantage in animation. And unfortunately, I can't do that, which is why 2D animation will never be my home, even though I wish I could. All right. And then finally, to wrap our list up, number 12, drum roll. Appeal. Appeal is exactly what it sounds like. Appeal is the ability to make sure that the character is appealing. Now, there's a bunch of different ways. This is more connected to character design. So this would be using different shapes to define different characters, using silhouettes to imply certain personality types and body types. So using, the triangle body for the strong guy, using a series of like water drops in order to display kind of like like a voluptuous like female character. Using kind of like more of like a curved shape to imply like the sinister like a bent forward like villainous character. The other thing about it is also trying to make the characters appealing. Now, for a lot of people, that means making the characters beautiful or attractive, but that doesn't have to be the case. There are villains who are not particularly attractive who are damn interesting. They have interesting armor, they have interesting body shapes, they have interesting poses, they have interesting, how to say it, like clothing or a unique facial structure or something like that. Like, it's very much about the visual appeal of a character, which again is like silhouettes and apparel / attire and their looks and their hair, etc. Do I know zigzag? I know what zigzagging is, but I don't know about the person / art style / whatever that might be in particular from The Thief and the Cobbler. I have not seen Thief and the Cobbler. But I will look up zigzag. Sorry, I'm doing a little bit, my brain's a little bit blizzling right now. Zigzag, Thief, and Cobbler. Oh, I've seen this character before. Yeah, they look kind of like a vulture. Thief and the Cobbler is from Williams that basically was never finished. Oh no! Yeah, he looks like a freaking vulture. Like, he's got those like beyond intense shoulders that help to like bring his like actual like the sides of his head up. And they kind of look like vulture wings to me. It looks neat. I like the art style of it. But that's actually a good example of like character design. So, like, yeah. Color is another way to make appeal. Absolutely, Brian. Color is very important. Nothing says attention getter like bright, bold colors. And nothing... And, you can play with, like, darker colors normally imply... depending on the color types that you use, normally imply, like, evil. He looks like Jafar's... Yeah, Jafar's, like, creepy cousin. Exactly. Lonesome. That is actually a really good way to describe Zigzag. But yeah, again, like... And Disney does stuff like that too, right? Like they use like the darker colors when they can to try and imply people being evil. They'll use particular, like, color is definitely a way that you can show off people's personalities and such. Absolutely. Sorry. My brain is starting to shut down. Yay. I've done too much this week. I'm running out of steam. Put, 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 put. All right. Well, even the Goblin and Lamb are based on the same thing. I don't remember if there is any connection beyond that, but there is very similar types of characters. Ah, I did not realize that. I appreciate that, Liar. I'm learning things today. All right, everybody. Those are the 12 principles of animation. Let me move those down so that they're not just blocked. There we go. They are, once more, squash and stretch, anticipation, staging, straight ahead versus pose to pose, follow through and overlapping action, slow in and slow out, arcs, well, arc, but I'm saying arc specifically, secondary action, timing, exaggeration, solid drawing, and appeal. If you can do even a portion of these, or if you're at least aware of what all of these are, that on its own will already help you a lot when it comes to thinking about how animation works and how you should approach it. Now, mind you, rules are made to be broken. That is an important thing. A good movie, but in terms of animation, it's basically Richard Williams going wild on an entire film. Thank you for the stream. I really love talking about animation, to be honest. Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed it, Liar. I'm glad everybody who stopped by. I appreciate you guys listening to me frickin' off the cuff try to explain how animation works. I don't even fully understand it myself. A lot of it is just muscle memory, playing it by ear, and a whole lot of other stuff. I love art from digital to digital, 3D, traditional. It's all really cool. Hell yeah, Lonesome. I'm glad to hear that. Like I said, I'm only really fluent in 3D. I'm aware of 2D. I'm aware of how it works. I can't do it to save my life. I would like to one day, but I don't have the hours in the day, nor the drive, nor the patience to do so, unfortunately. And no problem, Blue. Thank you for stopping by. All right. I think what we're going to do here is we're going to wrap up for the evening. Let's see. I think... Let me see. Ooh, difficult choice. No, we're gonna go and enjoy watching some flashy colors as Kajumaju re-clears the dungeons that they did the other day. Kaju is still streaming, I believe. There are others too. Oh, we're going for Kaju. I gotta give that boy some... My brain just will not work right now. I think my brain is shutting down, so I think this is a great time to stop. All right, everybody. Gotta do the socials thing. I have a Twitter that I mostly just use to proclaim when I'm live, but occasionally I post other little things in there when I feel they make sense. Also post stream stuff if I have a good clip that I want to post. And to thank people who've rated me, because you got to shout those people out. I have a Discord that I am relatively active in and try to use as a place for people to hang out and chat and talk about things and help decide where the channel goes, etc. I have a YouTube channel where I have a bunch of highlights and shorts and some John and John stuff there if those are interesting to you. I have a VODs channel, and that's all you need. Okay, fine, well, buy all the things on your throne. You totally convinced me. Oh, no, there's no throne. Where? I don't see it. It's not even there. But, all right, we are going to raid Kajumaju. He, for those who don't know, he is a bunny-themed VTuber who is currently trying to do the full clear for the new content of Final Fantasy XIV, specifically the Savage level difficulty. So, if you are subscribed, please use the top raid message. If you are not subscribed, please use the bottom raid message. If you have another raid message that you would like to use, by all means, go ahead and use it. Just make sure that it is wholesome and respectful. 21 people. Jesus Christ. I don't know why you guys stick around, but I appreciate the heck out of you guys. All right. Quick outro. Then we go over there, and then I need to wind down. So, thank you guys so much for sticking around, whether you were chatting, whether you were lurking, whether you just popped in and out for a second. Know that you were super appreciated. I hope that you guys learned some animation today. Blah, 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 blah. Stroopwafel. I hope that you guys have a great day, afternoon, evening, or night, whatever time it might happen to be for you. I hope that you guys are taking care of yourselves. I hope that you are drinking plenty of water. And when you finally do sleep, whatever time that might happen to be for you, I hope that you have a very restful sleep. I will see you guys over at Kaju's, and I will see you guys at the next sleepover on Tuesday when I don't know what we're playing. No, Monday. I'm collabing with Haya. We'll be here on Monday. I'll see you guys then.